We move to another very interesting session, and this is another one which is really important, and we have been waiting for this. The two very distinguished people here in the room going to talk about a topic, and I have no idea why I'm moderating that topic, because I'm also a part to that, which talks about the financial services beyond greed and speed. Actually, all of us are actually part of this. We have two, as I said, very distinguished personalities here in the room. We are going to cut down our break a bit. So anyone wants a biological break, please feel free to go out and come back to the room. We will continue with the sessions given the time. We will close at, as I said, lunch at 1:30. Before I invite my guests here on the dais, I will request a couple of my colleagues to make a brief introduction. I'll invite Dr. Venkat from Vedanta, Bhakti Vedanta Hospital, Dr. Venkat, to give a brief introduction of Dr. M.B. Nirmal.
Hare Krishna. I have a great task ahead of me to introduce Mr. Nirmal. He has a great task of cutting it on time because he has so much of wealth of knowledge. Dr. Nirmal served as the Chief Public Relations Officer for Indian Overseas Bank, and for his innovative ideas, he was posted in Hong Kong further, and he is a great activist on the environmental front, to that extent that he has more than 2,000 plus plants in his 3-bedroom hall kitchen. Till the time his wife said that it is enough. We both have to live. And he has also been on the board of, he was the advisor to Government of India on the Ministry of Environment, and he has delivered lectures in various universities in India as well as in US, and he founded an institution called Exnora, that is excellent, novel and radical, and he has been advocating this in various countries, and he has created a youth Exnora also, which has been very, very active in Tamil Nadu. And they have been helping us whenever we had been gone for South India Yatra as well. And he has been advocating zero waste management and liquid waste management. He has introduced this very effectively in the Golden Temple at Vellore. And what they are doing is they are collecting waste from 7 villages around and converting that into energy, and there is absolutely no residue left in that. And with this short introduction, and he is also advocating, and he has been delivering lectures on a topic called 7 Sense, which he has introduced it very effectively in the schools and colleges. So I hereby request Dr. Nirmal to come to the dais.
Our next panelist is someone who's well known to us. If the interest rate goes up or goes down, people are expecting it to go down. He is the man who is responsible. So please don't catch him after this session and ask him what's going to happen on 3rd of February. There is a great policy meeting on 3rd of February. I'm giving you enough hint. He is the man who decides all of this. So our life depends on him. Let me make a brief introduction. And unfortunately, the person who was to make this introduction is not here, and I'll describe the reason why she is not here also. Mr. Gandhi is the Deputy Governor of Reserve Bank of India. I'm not going to say anything which is already there on the website. There's a lot of information about him there on the website, but I'm going to talk about how has been my association with Mr. Gandhi and his family. My association with him goes back to 1997 when he was a part of a brief period. He was with SEBI, the capital markets regulator. The first and the most important thing is that I haven't come across such a humble, so senior bureaucrat in my career. I've met a lot of them. Mr. Gandhi is not only the name Gandhi, but also he has studied Gandhism philosophy as a subject in Madras University. And he's a true follower. When you meet and interact with him, you would actually realize that he's a true follower of that. There are a couple of things which impacts our day-to-day life. We may not really realize this, is now internet banking and online transfer of money. It started with the banks started doing the online transfer of money. There's something called RTGS. Mr. Gandhi was instrumental behind that. So the initial phase of technological input in the Indian banking sector through the central bank, the Reserve Bank, was done, the base was created by Mr. Gandhi. So he is the technological backbone of all the banks and the country now, because we are talking about cashless economy. We are talking about everything getting transferred online without any actual exchange of cash. And the start happened some 15 years ago, Mr. Gandhi, right? So he was the one who did this. In his house, every single festival in India is celebrated. And how it is celebrated is free for all. Please feel free to visit. It's just the deputy governor's house. Probably the security is very tight. Otherwise, every time I go, I see there's lots of kids from different schools, different colleges coming there, and they're all like part of the family, eating and celebrating and dancing, and depending on the kind of festival. So this is the kind of open heart, Mr. and Mrs. Gandhi. They are so committed to this, and we are going to talk about speed. I don't know whether the greed goes along with him. That probably goes with me. That's the reason why I'm the moderator. He landed from Calcutta last night and straight drove down from Calcutta from the airport to here and came here somewhere around midnight. His wife landed from Mrs. Gandhi. Unfortunately, she's not here. She landed from US yesterday morning, and she came here straight from along with him yesterday evening. So that shows the commitment, the kind of commitment they have, to impart also the knowledge to people like us. We are really, really honored, Mr. Gandhi, for taking the time, taking the trouble. And may I invite you to join the dais.
I want his permission. One picture is worth 1,000 words, more than my talking. The pictures, I said even 3 minutes I can show, no issue. I'll show, a movie, 1 minute, there's some 1,000 films run through. I'll show some pictures. Definitely this will have a lasting impression. Shall I do it? I think instead of giving a talk.
Absolutely, no problem. So ladies and gentlemen, I think we start with the panel discussion. The topic is very interesting. It's financial services beyond greed and speed. And as I said in the beginning, I have no idea. It's irony that I'm going to be moderating this panel. I remember when we talk about greed, sir, in 2008, we all know what happened in 2008, particularly in the US, and that impacted the rest of the world. In a conference like this was a conference held at the ashram of Satya Sai Baba, where this impact of 2008 and also the reason behind why 2008 happened got discussed. And a lot of senior bankers in India actually were involved in that. Mr. Kamath was there, Aditya Puri was there in that conference, and a lot of senior bankers were there. And the conclusion of after that 2 days was one word, which was greed. Because of the excessive bets taken, because of the greed, I think what happened in 2008. And I don't think the situations had changed since then. So I think the topic is absolutely correct. Speed and greed is making a big impact on us, making a big difference. All of us, we are in just moving in one direction, running around. I have no idea what we are trying to achieve. And I guess we are all chasing that greed which is out there. So I thought if we can just keep first 5 minutes for both of you. If you want to make a presentation, is fine. Just share your thoughts on this topic, and then I have a couple of questions, and then we'll open it up for the audience for interaction. If that's okay with you, sir, if I can turn to you, Mr. Gandhi. Yeah. First to you, Mr. Gandhi. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Good morning, everybody. It's a great feeling to be among such a senior audience, well experienced in life, and trying to share some thoughts what we have. Yes, as Sunil put it, it is a greed which makes life difficult. And that's the reason throughout the history of finance, there has always been a official restriction measures, because it is a natural inherent feeling in human mind to be greedy. Unless some sort of self-discipline is on the person, it is going to be very difficult to manage that greed. And an average person will not be of that variety. So some external force will always have to be there, governing the operations, limiting their abilities to take the system for a ride, and monitoring constantly. That's why the regulators are there. Every country, every financial system, there is a regulator. In our country also, we are the regulators. And the philosophy that we follow, you'll all recall that 2008 crisis, we had kind of avoided. That's precisely because of our philosophy, which is rooted in our own culture. The sense that anything excessive is not good. Anything speedier is not good. Anything which grows in a fast pace, we look at askance, we go deeper into it, we try to bring them down, call them up, visit them, and put restrictions on them. Because we know that by experience, and again by, as I said, by culture, speedy things are not good. And we also have restrictions constantly on the capacity of the financial institutions to price their charges in whatever they want. You would recall that until the economic reforms came in 1991, the financial charges, that is interest rate, etc., were fixed by the Reserve Bank, the regulators. If it is left in those days, the systems were not matured enough to leave such decisions in the hands of the financial institutions, that is the lenders and borrowers, to fix it. A third party was required to arbitrate. Otherwise, out of the greediness of the financial institution, the rates that might have been fixed would have been causing innumerable damages for the enormous number of people. So we took care. Yes, as part of the reforms, we definitely we relaxed it. We gave the freedom to the financial institutions, but also the expectation, underlying expectation was that the rates that they would charge should be reasonable. Anything unreasonable, the hawk eyes of the regulators are always there. Anything beyond a range was always questioned, and we brought their greediness to within limits. In the sense that yes, we have to give them the freedom, they have to make a differentiation between one and another, but too much of a differentiation will not be good for the society. So we took care. Banks were listening very beautifully. We did not have any problem with the bankers. But that greed was seen in another segment of the financial sector, that is NBFCs, non-banking financial sector. So in 1998, when that sector got into trouble, again we had to take very harsh measures, again bring them onto our fold and tell them clearly, yes, you will have the freedom to fix the interest rate, you can charge anything, but be reasonable. So again, that reasonableness of the thing, limiting the greediness, will have to be enforced by a regulator. It will be very difficult for any and everybody to be wholly self-disciplined, self-regulated, because that is a system best followed, and they found it difficult to manage it actually, which finally manifested in 2008 with a lot of problems. So we continue to have that. Then another example also I will give you in around 2010 in Andhra Pradesh, when the microfinancial institutions, again they took liberty in fixing the charges so heavily, and system reacted. That way people and the government have to come heavily on them, restrict them and arrest them, kind of things. The problems were there. Again we have to step in, because that kind of extremist reaction is also not good for the society, because financial products and services should continue to be available to the public. So we have to step in. We assured the governments, Andhra Pradesh government and other state governments and central government also, so we will take care. So we again brought in a kind of formula for those microfinancial institutions, how you should be charging, how you should not be greedy. Again, if you remember that speed, again, that by microfinancial institution, we are growing with such a speed in that, that is another reaction from the system. So both speed and greediness in financial sector are not good. And for that, the fundamental belief we have to have that it must be kept under constant control, constant monitoring, and constant regulation. That's one we have been practicing. So far we have been successful. Hopefully in the days to come also it will be. And elsewhere also learning from us. That's it. Thank you.
That was really very, very good summary of what's really happened in the system. I'm going to come back to you and a little bit talk about what is expected to happen, including the interest rate. But before that, Dr. Nirmal, your presentation, please.
Hello. Namaste. Hare Krishna. I'm very happy, proud to be here. There's a very coincidence that is a policy maker. We are implementers. I was an implementer. I was in Indian Overseas Bank. As was introduced. Actually, even I forgotten I was in a bank. I'm mostly related to environmental issues. But I want to say something very interesting. In the introduction, my flat, they told me about flat. I want to show you. There are 2,000 plants growing inside. I want to tell you the secret. My flat's name is Sri Krishna Lok. And I made a Brindavan actually. What I want to tell all of you, one quote, is the quote I addressed to myself: stop preaching, start doing. The world will be led by one scoundrel, at least you. So I decided long ago only to preach what I practice. So whatever I got in my life, all divine Lord Krishna. I made my house before that in a slum area. The whole street is a Brindavan. So if you all believe my previous speaker, Maharaj, you know, I want to listen wherever he addresses. In fact, His Holiness Dadananda Swami book, you can see my feedback, and I happened to, along Cape Bharat, release that book. So all my, whatever I say, I'm a channel, I got connected. The whole social banking got changed due to some intervention made by me. If it all happened, I would say it's all due to divine. Once I went to a village in 1977, I saw a girl studying the street light. Street light, she was doing her homework. She belonged to a scheduled caste community. I was shocked. An invention of 19th century had not reached many homes. What's the use of that invention? So I took with the government of Tamil Nadu, one net, one light. I got the scheme. So that village, I named my bank with a heart. This called it relationship banking, this first concept. All these concepts are spread, I want to say. Now the government of Tamil Nadu, immediately bank chairman became so happy about me, he transferred to Hong Kong branch. I was serving a village, but with a purpose. He thought my thinking horizon will widen. Okay, this branch, whatever he did, became blueprint in the banking for the whole banks, how a village can be transformed. We brought collective farming, many things for the... then when I came back to Adyar branch, introduced what's called relationship banking. And now going back to the topic, I want to say, I was in Thanambed branch. During that branch, when I was a manager, I got the Indira Gandhi Memorial Award from the VP, then Finance Minister. What got the award, I would say, the topic which was given to us. People think they want to make only improve business. This concept is called serve and sell. Everybody wants to sell. Why not you serve first? If you serve, there's no need to sell at all. I mean, you all understand? Very simple. So what I did, I saw it's a busy Mount Road. The branch never had any growth. It had only 2 crores. They said this branch is it's already written off branch. It's in a slum area. The people who go the road, they don't come inside. They don't know the existence of the branch. So I named it the Park and Bank. I saw the other side of the, so I made the cars to come. I'm giving my own example, which became, fortunately, expanded to the entire bank. I became a trainer in NIBM and RBI. So this all, as my previous great speaker said, one person, if he has a commitment, if it keeps on telling it, it will reach all the places. So this servant self-banking, what we did, my predecessor said, you can't get any business here. But you know, for optimists, one side is brightest, it is brightest. I saw the parking space. Why not I make the cars come inside? I started servant sell. I started issuing the motor vehicle tax token. Number of services related to all automobiles. It said car garage, this branch in a car garage, which I looked, I thought I should do, as a divine message was, I should do all related to automobiles. I want to tell you, sir, the business got expanded 4,000% in that branch by this servant sell. There are some sellers. Bankers think they are sellers, they can keep quiet. Intelligent bankers, they sell and serve. If they keep serving, the customers come back. But I want to tell those people in banking industry, they should serve. They should serve. They need no need to sell. People will be waiting there to buy from them. This is a message. So now, having done all those things, I went to Nugambakam branch. I went from Hong Kong, came to Nugambakam. I said, happy habitat, blissful banking and happy habitat. We'll give good bank business. We'll make your street clean and green. By the time I started Exnora International, so we helped all the affluent people. The streets all became clean. We introduced a tricycle cart. And what happened? We collected garbage, but deposit got automatically collected. I want to say that. So I from deposit collector became garbage collector, but it helped to improve the bank business again. So all these experiences show that there is a lot of scope for service. This all, I can take reasonable credit that this all became ultimately government evolved policy, because Ministry of Finance issued a circular as our branch was visited every day by VVAPs who want to see what we do in the bank. This became a blueprint for the banking industry. So these things can be definitely, I think this is all my remark. I will show the picture, a few more things, and I think this is my, thank you, sir.
Mr. Gandhi, just kicking off in terms of this couple of initial thoughts, and please feel free whatever you think appropriate, because we are keen to hear you. You've been at the forefront of the policy making up for the country, right, for the entire banking sector, as the helm of the largest, the most important regulator. Now, I understand this beyond speed and greed. Now, greed is not applicable to you, but the speed is definitely applicable to you also. How do you keep yourself so much grounded and committed to a lot of things which I talked about, and I see much more, and the entire family, not just yourself, your two sons and your wife, all of them. What is one thing which inspires you apart from Gandhi and Gandhi?
To reflect back, I should give major part of the credit to my village life. Until I came to college, I was in village. So whatever we see today, that's what we were practicing all the while. So that had got a deep impact on me. That's why whenever first of all, what job we should take after, or what profession we should take after education, what comes to my mind naturally was public service. Public service, because we have seen what is there and we have to give back. So public, initially I was planning for administration service, IAS, that naturally that comes to the mind. But later on, I joined the bank, Reserve Bank. And here again, because of whatever policy decision that we are taking, that is going to impact the entire public. Again, the public service notion comes into the picture. Greatest good for the greatest number of people. That's what is the philosophy which we have been trying to adopt. That got reflected in the schemes that you mentioned also, the RTGS scheme and the NEFT. When I designed, that was the idea was funds transfer from anywhere, any bank, any branch, any place to any other bank, any other place, any other branch. So that was a concept we are trying to bring in, and finally it got fruition. So the life's lessons also taught me a lot. The sense that you have to be humble, give it back to the society. That's the way both of us, both me and my wife, try to follow that every day. Yes.
Just one follow-on to both of you, and we have been hearing some great leaders all through yesterday and today, and there are some in the room as well. What is one lesson? Because the leaders are known to do something different. What you described, that your humble bringing influenced how you wanted to deal with in the public service, the kind of differentiation. And this is, now in the hindsight, it looks very easy that we can transfer. Now we are working on 24/7 banking. Anywhere, anytime, you can transfer funds, you can receive funds. You don't need to visit a bank branch. But when you would have conceptualized this, it would have been very different. There was a situation where the banking, we still have in the regulation the banking hours, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. or whatever. After 2:01, if you have taken a check, it will know you have to go to the bank branch, find a bank branch, look to the branch manager. And those are not just a few years back, right? So how those transformational ideas come to your mind, the kind of things which you have done? I mean, what is the different thinking? How do you come across these kind of transformational ideas? Why are people like us, normal human being, we can't think of something different?
Of course, this is a very difficult question, because it depends upon perhaps the environment. Because once you are in the seat of public service, automatically that goads you to constantly think about what new benefits, new ideas we can bring on the table to make that. So long as you are in the private service, by definition, you are supposed to be maximizing the value for your stakeholders, that is primarily the shareholders. That translates most of the time into profit maximization. The moment it is profit maximization, you have to be naturally taking care of one side, not the other side. So that becomes a constraint once you are in private services. Whereas in public service, that constraint is not there. Not just a constraint, and that is the objective, in the sense that you have to bring in greater good for the greater number of people. So constantly you think about what more to be done. Because that is one of the philosophies Reserve Bank has practiced, that continuous improvement, incremental improvements on the policies. We never believe in bringing grand schemes like that, no. Continuously think about it. But when you look back 5 years back, then you will find that greater distance we have traversed, and it looks like great things have been done. But on this day, when we think about, it is one step forward. That's a big.
No, I totally agree with you. In fact, I reassure you, there is no press in this room, and this is not official Reserve Bank of India, any kind of program, so we can take a little bit of liberty. While I'll open it up for the audience for some question, but I have one follow-up on that, what you mentioned. What is your view on connected to this point which you mentioned in terms of the Prime Minister, Mr. Modi's, the concept of more governance and less government? And do you think it is going to happen in India?
Yeah, certainly. Because already in the banking sector, next step has been taken in keeping that philosophy in mind. You would have read in the media or in the papers in the 10 days before, or 2 weeks before, we had a big conference in Pune, where all the bankers were brought in. So the final conclusion out of that, or recommendation out of that, was that banks should be given the greater freedom to decide how they will manage their own affairs rather than government intervening into their operation. And the government followed it up with a circular to the banks assuring that now we won't intervene, you take your own commercial decision. And they made it public also on top of it, not just it's an instruction to the banks, they gave wide publicity. So that's again, less government, more governance. So now the banks will be deciding what they should be doing in the greater good for the country. And in the same conference, Prime Minister himself did say there's a difference between government interference and government intervention. He said government will not interfere in the operations of the public sector banks, but government will intervene. Because government intervention is from the perspective of larger good. Country as a whole requires something, banks will also have to have a hand in it. In that case, government will definitely ask the banks to do it. Like the Jan Dhan Yojana, where the financial inclusion, where all the, not just the household, every person who would like to have a bank account, the bank should be going to the up to the last mile and extend those services. So that is definitely is there. So the approach that less government, more governance, certainly it is possible to come on the scene in full manner.
I'm so glad that you mentioned about Pune. I was about to come to that. There is no press here. Press was not allowed in Pune. So what we all heard was
press
very
was
sketchy. But what actually transpired inside? What is the inside information?
It's not inside information.
There are some stockbrokers here. I came alert to this.
Anyway, press was there. It is not the press was not there. Press was given a good briefing also, post sessions every day. There were briefing sessions. It was at one place, all the policymakers and all the leaders of the banking industry, they were brought on, and they were asked to think about how to go about forward. So they came out with several ideas. That the biggest demand from the public sector top management was that you allow us to operate as a normal commercial bank. So you should be giving the same set of autonomy and freedom as a private sector would do. So that was the demand. So finally government also, yes, agreed, yes, we do expect a lot from you, but you should give value. Just as you are giving, the private sector will be giving value to their own stakeholders. Here the stakeholders, the general public, you do it for that. For that, whatever operational freedom is required, we are ready to give you. So that's the way it went about. And of course, several sub-themes were definitely discussed, like HR, because government, the public sector banks are facing big problem in the coming years. Large scale retirements are going to be there, especially from the senior scales. So how to deal with that? So that was a big concern. And the other one is naturally in the last 4 or 5 years post this 2008 crisis, the non-performing assets, the economic slowdown, which has got on to several advances going bad. So how to deal with that? So those kind of operational discussions were also be there. That's it.
Dr. Nirmal, both of us, he is a regulator for both of us. Now you are a former banker, I am still a banker. So I can't take that much liberty. So I look to you in anything you need from the regulator, any advice. This is a forum where we can do that.
Actually, many other things I did. For example, it needed permission from my immediate regional manager. I know you will not give, so I used to call chairman. When chairman inaugurates, will praise me, so naturally regional manager will approve. What I want to say, Reserve Bank, as a matter of fact, I would say one of the very model reserve banks. Now, as a banker, I understand, as you said, less government and more governance happening even in Reserve Bank. That's what doing that. But what I would request Reserve Bank, make all the banks socially responsible. So each bank, those days civilizations developed along the river side. Now each branch, civilization can happen. Because bank, everybody comes. A borrower, a depositor, both come. All people come. A person wants a cinema ticket, cinema hall owner also comes there. So you can match and marry. So what I want to say, bank can play an important role. My request to Reserve Bank, because I found out, suddenly, with all, I say I'm an Indian, I heard something in Tamil, immediately I caught hold of it, because my mother tongue is Tamil. So, and we come from same state. But what I want to ask, if Reserve Bank and the finance ministry decide, India can be transformed in 1 year time. You know how? Each branch should take one village at least. They should do improve agriculture, many things they have to do. Reserve Bank should give that kind of impetus. Though they are regulatory authority, They should motivate banks where the villages, because village, only one anecdote I would like to share. You know, people smoke. We can live without smoking. But the cigarette manufacturers are minting money, okay? We drink. We can be without drinking. But those who manufacture alcohol become richer. We eat food, okay? We eat food. Food is necessary. But those who produce food commit suicide. Look at this. Why it's happening? I think banks should play important role. Most of the banks are owned by government. They should become the heart of the community, and they should do that. And we are willing to give all the know-how, do-how. But Reserve Bank, I don't know if you should answer me. Reserve Bank can take a proactive role in telling banks to take charge of the community and community participation. After all, each bank serves the community. The community in turn will do more banking. That's what I want to say. I want to say one more thing. I'm also in a finance company called Equitas, microfinance. I'm a director there. They asked me to be a director. I put 2-3 conditions. Condition one, people who are born in the platform dwellings site, they should be given a house. So we have already 200 families we are able to house. One of the conditions. Another, we should start schools for the school dropouts who are not admitted in any school. So what I am telling you, I'm not telling about myself. One idea, strong idea, we can influence it's the biggest microfinance company. They started 14 schools equal to any best schools of India. This all for lower income group. So the social initiation needed. You know the traditional lamp, it's burning. You need a small stick. That's all we should all do it. And Reserve Bank, as a bank of all banks, they can definitely call all the chairmen, ask them to do social banking in a large scale. And it may impress the bank. They have a heart. You can put a stethoscope and see each branch whether the heart is there or not.
Sir, there is one rider. I must put one rider. He's talking about the public sector bank, not the foreign bank and the private sector bank.
only 1 minute, sir. Only 1 minute. The bank managers, how they are there. One manager had an eye operation. He got one eye operated. A marble eye was fixed. Anybody asks loan, he will say, "Look at my eyes. Tell the which is a real eye, which is the marble eye." People always tell the wrong thing. One boy told the marble eye is the right eye. Correct? I mean, the marble eye is the artificial eye. How did he find out? That's why I see kindness.
We've got last 5 minutes. We got last 5 minutes, so a couple of questions. We have time. I know there are many hands going. We won't be able to take more than 2. So a couple of questions because we need to really be mindful of the time, please. And then Sanjeevji, please go ahead. If you can keep your questions short, sir, so that we can accommodate one more. Yeah.
The banks were built to be a social entity, and they have not been social for last 30 to 40 years. They have become like any other commercial organization, and I'm sure RBI is observing it, and why they are not putting rules for them to look back and become social.
First of all, we have to understand that banks gets money from where? From ordinary depositors. Ordinary depositors. So depositors' interest will have to be the primary duty of any bank to protect. Please remember that. A social organization, when somebody has to be completely taking care of social development and other thing, that funds have to come from somewhere else. Here, the funds for the banks are coming from the public. So that is why there are natural restraints beyond which a bank cannot go forward in meeting social commitment that we have to be fully aware of. Within that constraint, what maximum can be done, that's what we are trying to get on. Right from 70s, after bank nationalization, the village adoption scheme came on the scene. Exactly what Nirmal was mentioning now, that branches will have to adopt a village and make that village prosper. That's the idea. Later on, priority sector schemes came on. Then now the Jan Dhan Yojana. Here also village specific attention is being given by the banks, and there is a bank and government is also pushing the banks to do. And in that process, it is not just a public sector bank, even private sector banks are also have been tasked to do this. So that is definitely there. We have not forgotten the social aspects, even though under economic reforms we have been making banks function more as an economic entity rather than a social entity. So that, because that is a fundamental philosophy of a bank, they should exist for the ordinary depositors. Their money has to be protected. Within that parameter, yes, things can be done.
Sanjeev ji, you had one question. Yeah.
I'm just sticking to, the topic, speed and greed. And Sunil had started with, this 2008 crash which happened because of probably too much of greed which was there. After that, a lot of regulations have come in. But at the same time, there is a lot of money which has been printed across the world and pumped in, which has again led to a lot of bubbles. And in the last couple of months, people have again started talking about, again a bubble which is bursting, and it could be a much, much bigger problem which we will be facing in the future. So just wanted to understand from,
Okay. Bubble, it is, right now, nowhere it is developing. Yes, but economies, throughout the world, economies are at the low ebb. Entire Europe is under regression. Then Japan started to develop, again it has gone back below the negative growth, into the negative growth. Only US has started getting better economic growth. So otherwise, throughout the world, it is not, there is nowhere property bubble or stock market bubbles are there. Yes, in our country, unfortunately, that our stock market is growing really, really very fast in the last 1 year because of a lot of expectations and other reasons. So we are definitely worried about it, that it can lead to a kind of bubble. So naturally, because these are natural tendencies for these sensitive sectors of the economy. One is the stock market, second is the commodities market, and third is the gold and oil, and specifically also. So that is where the most of the regulators will have their hawk eye on what is happening in these three specific segments. So let us hope that it won't really develop into a big bubble.
There was a question here somewhere. Yeah, the gentleman here.
My question is, Mr. Gandhi, there is a lot of conservatism in the Reserve Bank's policy, and there is a lot of insider trading in the stock market, because I am from the stock market. And I get the news, now next 6 months there will not be any interest rate cut, and these people, they come to know in advance. And they say, 0.25% SLR will be cut, CRR this much will be cut. Despite having all the confidentiality and secrecy, there should be a very fair play for all the investors and the traders or whatever it is. I don't blame RBI. I am very happy that RBI, despite all the worldly problems, RBI, kept the expectations of the public, and not even a single PSU banks are gone, defaulted in this country. And all glories to RBI, no doubt about that. But these type of insider trading in our country should stop, or the punishment should be of the highest order, so that these traders or so-called, top brokers doesn't take advantage of this, number one. Number two is about the willful defaulters. Say, for example, a liquor baron. We all know what he has done and where he has stacked the money, everything. Why such people are left scot-free? And when an ordinary person does a small thing, he has been harassed, arrested, this, that, his assets has been stripped, everything. And why this disparity? We have one disparity in terms of, poor and rich, which is widening. And second is in terms of, punishment also, judiciary, So, insider trading, RBI and SEBI should come very fast, and the punishment should be very high, so that such things stops. And secondly, the conservative policy. All the time people are expecting now the interest rate will come down. Oh, okay, the Brent oil was going up. That's why RBI was very conservative, not reduce the interest rates. Now the oil has come down to $48. But still, now people are saying that now it has come down, it's a problem. When it was rising, it was a problem. When it comes down also, it's a problem. So we are not able, we are in a confused state because we invest thinking that in the stock market, oh, oil has come down so low, now it is good for the country. Yeah, it is good for India, but not for worldwide. So please, can you address this? Thank you.
Okay. Conservatism, we agree that we have been accused of. But we have a strong belief that's what has protected our country in very many situations. That's why we are very, very careful, because we are very conscious of the position that banks deal with somebody else's money. Any other economic activity, any other manufacturing activity or service industry or agriculture or anything, one puts one's own money. If at all, some borrowed money, extra, that's it. This is whereas banks are highly leveraged, entire public money comes in. So that handling will have to be on very strong prudential basis. We cannot be allowing free flow. That's why we have a strong belief in adopting conservative methods, so-called conservative methods. So that will continue. We are not going to change that approach at all. Yes, for action against people who misuse the system, we agree, totally agree with your point of view that judicial system should be strong enough to put them into behind the bars or whatever punishment that is taken. So we are trying to ring-fence the system from the effects of this kind of people, whether it is a willful defaulter or whatever it is. So we are taking extra measures, in association with SEBI also we are trying to bring in rules in such a way that such people cannot get support from the banking system, that at least future they cannot be creating trouble, that we're trying to take it. All said and done, taking action against any perpetrator will have to be based on evidence, because that's a democratic system. The judicial system will always require strong evidences to be presented to them. So based on those evidences only things can be done. Here, personally the person may be having massive wealth, but the company under which the borrowing had happened, that might have been stripped off or nothing. That's why the forensic audit and trying to trace the funds movement from that company to his own private coffers, that becomes the investigative affairs or investigative wing of the government will have to take over. Banks will not be able to do that. So anyway, these are all beyond the normal realms of the central bank. Thank you.
Any clue on February 3rd, sir?
No clue. Definitely no clues. Even we ourselves do not know. Because thing is that it is always an evolving situation. Continuously we monitor what is happening around the country and elsewhere. Based on the data, we try to foresee the future. Because whatever actions that we take in terms of monetary policy related decisions, it is based on the projections, not what is happening today or yesterday. So how the economy is going to move forward, based on that forecast, we come to certain conclusions. Those conclusions obviously many people will not be able to see, because we are trying to see forward. Many people will not be able to, as he put it, that today the oil prices have come down, that means inflation will come down, why you are still not cutting the... This is simple logic anyone will put in. But we will be looking forward in 3 months what will happen to oil prices. In 6 months what will happen. So that projection obviously will give a different conclusions it will lead us to. So we have to wait for
and
that.
We respect the RBI's foresight. I know you don't have the benefit of hindsight. Just coming back on the point for insider trading, sir. In fact, I've been in this market from 91 onwards, and I must tell you that insider trading, that regulation has tightened much more than ever been. In fact, recently SEBI has come out with a draft new regulations, and those are much more stringent. So what used to be the situation earlier, is it still at the same level what the global standards are? The answer is no. But it is much better than where it used to be. But it is up to each one of us. It's not really what we initially earlier also discussed. It's up to the market participants and the practitioners also to change. Really, I don't know how much regulator really can do, because the regulation and the regulator, as Mr. Gandhi mentioned, they would need evidence. And if everything is so perfect, 2008 would not have happened, right? I know there are many questions, but unfortunately we need to close. Every good thing has to come to a close, and we have to also now cut out our break time. So we will just continue, because we want to really close the day on the time which we have set out. So we will have to close this. I would just make one comment. When I was listening to my two honored panelists and some of the questions and interaction, excuse me, in terms of, we talked about governance and the government, we talked about insider trading, we talked about what can one do for the social responsibility, what government can do, what banking sector can do. We try and put, everything, if you look at, what somebody else can do. If we start reflecting on ourselves as to what we can do, I think the thing would be very different. I'm reminded by a small couplet by Shair Ghalib. Some of you must be aware of this. It says that umr bhar Ghalib yahi bhool karte rahe, dhool chehre pe thi but aina saaf karte rahe. The meaning of this for some of them is that all my life I kept making this mistake. While there was a dirt on my face, on my own face, I kept cleaning the mirror, right? So if we start reflecting back on each one of us in our own role, in our own capacity, whatever we do, I think things would change. If we start, this is where going back to preaching and practicing, if we start practicing what we are saying, I think things would change. With that, I must thank our two honored panelists, Mr. Gandhi especially for coming all the way. I know it's been a busy time, and just before all the schedule, I know your schedule. I really, really appreciate you taking the time and coming here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.